Previously on Thousand Air Radio. Holy moly, I think I lost a Bitcoin doing this.
Get enough cringe to stumble.
Today is probably going to be the best ever.
Cringe levels at 10%.
Steve John, 83, first. Please hit that like, friendo. Speaking of hitting that like, do you like pennies and nickels? I do, and today I'm going to remind myself why, as I sort out my weekly harvest. So stick around, it's going to be such a good show today. So much to ponder. I found a gem quote from a book today, and here it is. Your greatest responsibility to yourself is to invest whatever time is required to be absolutely clear about exactly what it is you want and how you can best achieve it. That's from a book called Goals by Brian Tracy. You can literally just listen to it for free on YouTube. Now, I would wager that the majority of people do not see that as their main priority to themselves. But what if it was? It's got me thinking. What if I just made that my number one priority? I need to think about what it is I ultimately want to the point where it's crystal clear in my mind. And once I have that crystal clear focus, think about what it is I need to do each day to get to that. And only after that am I free to prioritize anything else. After all, what else is there to prioritize if you don't know where you're going or how you're going to get there? Yeah, so I'm probably going to have to write that quote on my wall or something. It might seem corny, but I think it will be powerful. After all, out of sight, out of mind, so insight, in mind. So perhaps the pen is mightier than the sword, unless you're in a situation where you really need a sword. I gathered some jars of change and my console change out of my car. I still have yet to find those 90% silver half dollars. I did find these in the console of my car, though. Pretty nice, huh? These are each 3 troy ounce poured silver rounds from MK Bars. I bought these many years ago. Look at those pour lines. Beautiful. Ooh. This is what you want, but these things have hefty premiums. Still, who knows? Maybe one day I'll have a trunk full of them. All right, pennies and nickels. I'm sorry, cents and nickels. A penny is part of a pence, which is from the United Kingdom, from what I understand. A cent, I think, means 1/100th of a dollar. That's what we have here in the U.S. And a centenario is almost $3,000, and that's just a big Mexican gold coin. We'll talk about those in another video soon. One commonality between every finance book, every guru, everyone I've ever heard online or in person talk about is you gotta have some cash, emergency cash. And if you listen to macroeconomists, you'll always hear that inflation destroys your buying power. It depreciates your currency, but it usually makes assets go up in value, or at least in the valuation of the currency. Now, what I like about nickels and cents is that the melt value is higher than the face value, so long as your cents were minted prior to 1982. Some 1982s are good to go, but some are not. All nickels are good to go. And if you're not following, good to go means it's worth more than the face value in melt. Now, we're not melting anything here. That is illegal. We don't want any trouble after all. But if inflation should persist, they will likely stop minting these coins or mint them with a different alloy. And when that happens, scrapping these may not be illegal. Not that I would ever scrap them anyway. I'm sure they'll just become more collectible. Originally, I was doing this for the copper bullion, but nickel is highly coveted. I don't know if the whole electric car movement is going to succeed, but if it does, I think nickel's like one of those things that they use to make them. And I know the nickel market has been squeezed to the point where the circuit breaker went off. The market makers, I think, stopped the squeeze, whether it was legitimate or illegitimate. There's some stuff going on around nickel. And each nickel is 25% nickel. Oh, if you didn't hit the like button yet, could you do that, please? And thank you. And if you're really in a generous mood, leave some comments below. It could even be just be algo food. It doesn't have to be insightful, although I do really like insightful. So pre-1982, cents and nickels are real money with real material value. If you melt a dollar bill, you'll just set off your smoke alarm. And if you try to melt a $100 bill, same thing. So if there's inflation, the material that the real money is made of should go up and act as a hedge against the purchasing power loss of the currency. Very long term, not short term with cents and nickels. So what if there is deflation? The Fed, they get that demand destruction that they've always wanted. And when demand is destroyed, businesses must downsize, lay people off, or at the very least, not hire anyone, making even more people broke and more demand destruction, which leads to more people being laid off. Does any of this sound like something you may have heard lately? Probably not from the mining companies or any of the bullion dealers, Muppet puppets. And if you did hear it from them, they're talking, well, it's going to be immediate stimulus and bailouts. And maybe it will, but maybe it won't. So we could see ourselves in a world where things are getting cheaper, but we don't have a job, so we can't really buy any of it. Or we do have a job, but we're underemployed. It's a crappy job with perhaps not enough hours. You'll need more than one. If that's the case, the nickels, the cents, they can be rolled back up and spent. No harm, no foul. I mean, it'll take some time to roll them all back up, but if I'm unemployed, I'll have time. I've been doing this every week for quite some time. So I probably have a couple $1,000s in nickels and pennies, or nickels and cents, and I hope I never have to use them. But this habit of $20 a week or so, once in a while I'll buy a box of nickels and, skip another week or two. It will accumulate thousands and thousands of dollars in the form of very heavy 5-gallon pillars throughout my home. And if hard times should never come, I'll have the peace of mind of ready to spend valuable material artwork. It's really going to be artistic when it's in the bathroom. Just imagine if you should let someone use your restroom and they're sitting on the hopper staring at a 5-gallon water bottle just full of nickels. And they're going to be like, what the heck? I think I just saw one of those in the kitchen. Yeah, so obviously I'm not married or else this wouldn't fly. Just like my chest freezer full of meat with a couple stools next to it in the kitchen as a table wouldn't fly. It's just far too practical. I've always liked keeping a lot of change around because I'm impulsive, or I have been more impulsive in the past. I would spend my cash too quickly and I would be in situations where I was without. It definitely did not help that I was a drunk. But there were many times I would have nothing and then I would just go through my change and be pleasantly surprised. So I guess having a bunch of change still gives me a sense of security, whether it's warranted or not these days. I can say with confidence that the odds that I'll ever have to use it are not so high. After all, it's piling up everywhere. But it is cents and nickels, not quarters and dimes. Did you know, a nickel, its melt value is worth more than a quarter's melt value? Yeah, that's crazy. So I'm not sitting on any quarters long term. No way. Unless they're silver quarters, of course. I got a big bag of those now, $60 face. It's so awesome. Yeah, so in a nutshell, it's a diversification of my metals stack and part of the diversification of my emergency cash. If this is like your first time watching, this is not all that I do. I mean, we're just talking about $20 a week here. I still keep some filthy fiat notes around, as well as some crooked currency in the banco. I keep some silver and gold in a couple bancos. I know a lot of you don't like that, but a little geographical diversity works for me. Oh, I've been trying to build my credit up, so I applied for this credit card in 2022 and activated it sometime in 2023, and it has like a $500 limit. I've been using it, and I've never paid interest. I may have bought some things I normally wouldn't have bought, but I didn't pay any interest. In fact, I have accumulated some rewards. But anyhow, a few months back, I started using it just to pay bills, and then I pay it off right away. I always pay it off right away. But I noticed something when I paid my last credit card bill. My limit suddenly went from $500 to $5,000. So this is a new responsibility. Now I have this voice in my head saying, go get an 80-inch television. And then I'm like, no, I have to pay this off each month. And then the voice is like, okay, I'll ask you later. Yeah, so the credit card company cabal sees that I can pay $500 a month, no problem. So they're thinking, well, he can service a $5,000 debt and maybe never pay off the principal and be our debt slave. Or maybe they're just nice people that know I'm responsible. I don't know. Either way, I'm going to set my own limit, which will probably still be $500 a month. But when I take a long car ride for vacation, I'll have peace of mind. If something on the car should break and I have to deal with some garage in some little town, I'll at least have some money. I'm sorry, not money, some credit. Wow, that temptation's always going to be there, though. I'll be on vacation. I'll be like, hey, yeah, everybody got lobsters? Yeah, you know what? I'll get this one. And the next one. After all, I'm a big shot. It's okay. I have to learn to live with my new abilities. Just another reason not to start drinking again. After all, I can't let drunk me get a hold of $5,000 credit. Hey, if you're still here, you have an attention span, and you're exactly the kind of subscriber I want. So hit the subscribe button. We could always use another thousandaire around here. And don't worry, every day's not cents and nickels day. Either way, I appreciate you joining me, and I hope you hit that like, because that's it. That is it. Thousandaire Radio, wicked job. It's getting there. I just got $40 more of nickels, actually.